Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another video on Starseed Academy. My name is Jenny. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I have something that I really want to talk about. It was very inspired through a client session that I had. I don't really have any notes, but this is just something that's coming through so strongly, like a new understanding of this. And so I want to talk with you about the process that a soul and a human goes through as they die. And definitely a trigger warning here. Of course, if anyone is dealing with some very recent grief, then this might be difficult for you to talk about or hear about. So maybe save this. But to be honest, I feel like it might actually be very healing to understand, because the truth is that death is as sacred as birth. It is just as sacred as birth is, and it is actually an honor to be with someone, a soul, as they go through that transition. And I just want to kind of explain from this soulful, spiritual, energetic perspective what actually happens during that. I want to call out, so anybody here that's had an OBE, out of body experience, or an NDE, a near death experience. So I've had one of those, and so I've had firsthand a lot of this process that somebody goes through as they're dying. You would have also experienced. You wouldn't have experienced the second half of it unless you actually cross over. But there's this first half that if you have an NDE, that you are going to experience. And so you'll probably recognize some of these things. I've talked a little bit on this channel about my NDE, but I definitely haven't covered this topic to this detail. And I feel for some reason, I don't know why, super feeling called to talk about this. Okay, so I'm calling the video Divine Death because, like I said, I really feel like this is such a divine rite that a soul goes through. Okay, so I want to start with I just jotted down a couple of keywords just so that I can stay on track here. So the first thing that I want to start with is that there are multiple exit points that a soul has planned into their soul contracts. Okay, so I do have videos about soul contracts so that you can understand them better. I won't discuss it in depth here. Go ahead and search Starseed Academy soul contracts if you're wanting to know more about that here on YouTube. So in your soul contracts, you schedule, because that's the right word, but quite a few things. A lot of the larger experiences that you go through, trauma, big experiences that are like beautiful, like weddings, births, the main people around you, but you also would schedule in usually 3 exit points, 3 opportunities for you to decide, yeah, I'm ready to go. If you've had an NDE, that was an exit point. If you've not heard of that term before, it's something that you can research, exit point. Okay. So somebody like myself that has had one NDE, that means that I've used up 1 exit point. And so I probably have 1 or 2 more on my path. If you come to the last exit point, then that is, and you haven't taken any of them yet, haven't taken them up on, this was an opportunity where you could truly leave Earth and this lifetime, you could go, okay? Then when you come to like the last one, the third one, this is usually, okay, some people might have more than that. So maybe somebody's had a lot of NDEs and they haven't died yet. You maybe have more. And that's probably because your path really requires you to learn through this trauma. But most people, I'm going to go with the number 3. If you come to the third one and you haven't left yet, then that'll be your true death. But if somebody dies young, at a young age, that means they took up their first or second one. They decided, they made a decision. You know what? I'm not really where I wanted to be yet, or Earth isn't all I thought it was going to be, or this is a lot more difficult than I thought, and I don't feel prepared to continue. I don't desire that. Free will. And you can choose, I'm ready. So in a way, these exit points feel like safety, right? If you were like going into some, what do we want to compare Earth to? I was going to say something really negative, like if you're going into war, that doesn't feel it. But if you were going into some like very challenging experience, you might want to have these insurance doorways of like, I can leave if it gets really bad. It's okay, right? So that's what an exit point is. Okay, so let's move beyond that into what then happens once you actually go through with it. So the first thing that I want you to know is that if you've had an NDE, you've experienced this, or somebody that you know that has passed on has experienced this. As the body begins to die, there is a flood of adrenaline, which feels like anxiety. So many people that are about to die or starting the process of dying, I've actually been with like quite a few people as they've passed firsthand. And I've seen this happen where they start thrashing around. And if they're in a hospital bed, they start thrashing around in the covers and kicking, and like a lot of anxiety starts to happen. It gets very, very uncomfortable, right? So a lot of anxiety as the body is approaching the death mark. And so that anxiety leads your guides or your higher self, or even just your soul's own innate knowledge, leads to the decision to leave the body. Not death yet. Now we're talking OBE, out of body experience, okay, which is a part of an NDE, a near death experience. And once you do that, there's instant peace, right? You're like, instant relief, right? And the body calms down, and the soul is still in the room with the body attached through the silver cord of life. Okay, there is a cord of life that cannot be severed until the human body dies, as in all of the life force has left the body. Then it is severed and the soul can leave. Until that, it is in that room, okay? But there's this a peace that comes over. And so that's how you know you're approaching even closer to death. So this is all like kind of increments of getting closer to it. So we've got the anxiety and the tossing and the gross feeling, and then the leaving of the body, and then the observing of the body. So usually a soul, if you've had an NDE like I have, you'll feel like you kind of float up, but are still attached to that cord and are able to view the body, look down at the body, and kind of look around the room and see what's going on. That's the next phase, right? This out of body experience and this peace. Then what happens is a portal opens in that room. You don't travel to it, it comes to you because you're attached to the body still. This is where people start talking about a tunnel of light. This is a portal to the beyond. Now, there's many words that people have for this, and truly it's what feels good for you. Some people like heaven, some people like the in-between place, some people just like light. You're going to a place. You're not going to a dimension. That portal doesn't lead to like the angelic dimension. Dimensions are like the 14, 13, 12. I mean, all these dimensions, they are reserved for incarnations. They are reserved for having a lifetime. Okay, an incarnation is a lifetime with a beginning and an end. If you are an angel, you are in an incarnation. You're not the pure soul. Souls are not angels. Angels are angels, right? Hopefully this is making sense. You choose to have a lifetime as an angel, or as a ascended master, or as a Pleiadian, or as anything, as a human. You choose. You create soul contracts, you make a choice, decide on the length of the life, what you want to learn, the big things. That's a soul contract. Then you enter in, you are born into that incarnation. It has a beginning and an end. Angels are not forever. They do have a beginning and an end, okay? All of those are dimensions. So you're not going to a dimension, you're going to a space outside of dimension. Okay. How do I know that angels? Because I just felt like someone needed clarity. Sorry. I can feel as I'm doing this, your reactions. How do I know that angels have a beginning and an end? Because you were one. I was one. We've all been, in the angelic realms. Trust me. Everyone that I've ever met has had an angel incarnation. Watch the video on this channel called Soul Journey Through the Universe. It has the word soul and journey at the beginning. We talk about the journey of the soul, how we go from source, almost like a horizontal move into angelic lifetime. And then we slowly descend our frequency. Okay, the next lifetime is maybe the Ascended Master or the Arcturian, which are very similar. And then we can move down. Okay, etheric beings. Then we start getting into less etheric, more physical, and then right down here to earth where it's very dense and difficult and advanced. Like you work your way down. So you've been an angel. Anyway, we'll move on. So this portal that opens up in the room of somebody that has died is a portal. Okay, a portal is like a wormhole, basically, that takes you, collapses time and space, and you walk through it and you end up somewhere else. It feels like a tunnel. You go through it and you're somewhere else. Okay, people confuse the words portal and vortex. Okay, portal, you're going somewhere. A vortex, you can't go through it. You don't go anywhere. It's just a very swirling energy of power. It's like an amplifier of things. That's when ley lines cross. So the energy swirls and it amplifies your intentions. They build sacred sites on vortexes a lot of the time. You're not going anywhere though. A portal is, we're going somewhere. Okay. Portal opens in the room. You see a tunnel of light. When a portal opens in a room, if somebody is very sensitive, so say you're in a hospital and you are one of the loved ones and someone is passing, maybe they're laying on a bed, you feel the shift between all of these stages, the anxiety, the sudden peace and quietness in the body, and the quiet breathing. That's them out of the body. Okay, that's them now in the room observing everything that's going on. And it is very real. Okay, like I've been in that situation where I'm observing it all. They're very sentient. They are hearing you. They are watching. They are there. Okay, so be very loving in your communication. They can hear you. And then that portal opens and somebody very sensitive in the room, which is like, actually I had a session with a client, I said at the beginning, that inspired this video. They were talking about feeling electricity suddenly in the room. Like, ooh, like all of their skin was like burning, buzzing, so strong. That's somebody that can feel that portal opening, because the power of where that portal goes to, that in-between place or that heaven place, the place of pure souls, outside of dimension, outside of time, that is the most high vibrational place. That is just, you'll feel that. Okay, that is just like love and light and healing and like so powerful. And I think for some reason I feel like we've done a video on that place, the in-between. I feel like we have. Interesting. Okay, so that's the next stage that the portal opens. Okay, and then if you are having an exit point, NDE, where you decide not to go through the portal, that's as far as you go. It's over. Something happens where they say no. They block the tunnel. They won't let you cross. Somebody says to you, that's not true. Some people will start to kind of like go through that tunnel and then they come back. It stays open. And that would be in a case where, so if the body fully dies and the silver cord is severed, you go through the portal and you can't come back. If the body's still alive, like you're in a coma, then you have more of that leeway to kind of travel back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to take back what I said about that's as far as it goes. That's as far as mine went. My NDE stopped there because they blocked it and they said no, and they wouldn't let me go into the tunnel of light. But I definitely have heard occurrences of people traveling and then coming back, so they can visit and come back. Regardless of how far you go, a near-death experience changes everything. Everything changes after that. Like my NDE led to me really taking stock of where I was at in my life and deciding to completely shift my path from being this professional singer to spiritual. This is what I need to do. This is what my purpose is. I feel something more powerful that wants to come through, right? That kind of shift, something really big where someone totally changes everything, like the whole trajectory of their life. A lot of people's gifts awaken on a new level too, once they've kind of had that in between, moment, especially people that go through the tunnel and then come back. They have a very heightened ability to step into their psychic gifts. Their clairs becomes very, very heightened as well. So, and all of that can also be predestined or pre-soul contracted, where you might decide, okay, for that exit point, I'm going to visit home. I'm going to check in with my team that created the soul contract with me and see where I'm at. I'm going to get some counsel I'm going to help myself get back on track. So that's a really important time. But since this video is about the divine death, then we do want to talk about what, like the end. Okay, so if someone's human body dies, that means all of the life force leaves, it fizzles out, the electricity leaves, the monitors stop reading a heartbeat, or if machines were keeping the body alive, like breathing apparatuses, and they've all been unplugged. There's a time period of a couple of minutes there where there'll still be sparks of life in the body, like readings on the machines if they're hooked up to them, when that all comes to an end. So after you unplug it, maybe 2 minutes later kind of thing. That's when the silver cord of life gets cut. It naturally probably just dissolves. Actually, it's not probably a cut, it probably just dissolves. And whatever remains of any soul energy, any life force, leave the body. When that happens, what can happen is actually, so again, after the body dies, a couple of minutes later, all of a sudden, whatever was left of the soul behind in the body, if there was anything left, which there would be if the body was still alive, there's still some life force in there. That's all a part of the soul. It has to all be put back together. It rises up through the body, and oftentimes people will report that person's face glowing, the person that has died. It will turn into this soft, this is how I want to describe it because I've seen this firsthand. It looked like powdered sunlight, like the whole face glowed in the softest, most powdery yellow, beautiful color I've ever seen. The whole face glowed for maybe 10 seconds as everything left. And then when that left and rejoined the soul as a whole on the side of the human, it just went gray. And now you could feel that it was just an empty husk. And that soul now, for the last time, travels through that portal, which is the tunnel of light that we hear about, and does not come back. After that point, the body immediately begins to deteriorate because there's no life force in it keeping it alive. And there is nothing really truly left behind of the consciousness or that person. It's okay to detach yourself from that. Now it's just a body. The person that you love is not in it anymore. They've moved on. What they've moved on to do now is, to be honest, you probably will not hear from them for, like, if you are in, I was going to say if you're in tune and being able to talk to spirit, but also just anyone, you're not going to hear from them for like 3 to 4 months, sometimes up to 6 months, depending on how much healing they need. That soul is now off. They're on to the healing chambers, the healing pods, life reviews. They're busy for a few months. But after a few months, all of a sudden, you might feel them around you again. You get this feeling that they're in the room. You maybe smell something of their perfume or cigar smoke. You start dreaming about having conversations with them. You hear something that reminds you of them. They start to come around again. That's a sign, if that happens, that they have that they are, a lot of the times they're rejoining, not rejoining, they're joining your guides. They're joining your spirit team. They become a new guide for you. They join your spirit team. Here they are, and they're now there, a part of your team. You can talk to them every day. This means you'll miss them a lot less if they choose to be a spirit guide. They look over you. They watch over you until your own end. Many, many loved ones do that for the people left behind. A lot, especially if they're your mother or your father or a grandparent. Okay. If they're a friend, they might do that. Many of them will. It kind of just depends on how close that soul bond is. But there's this amount of time of a couple of months where there's nothing. And that's a very difficult time for somebody that's grieving because they feel so gone. And I want you to know that it won't always feel that empty. They'll come back around in a couple of months. They just have to do their thing for a bit. They will come back and you will feel like they're back in your life again, and it will ease your grief, right? So if you can get through that 3 or 4 months, which is general, but usually, then it will be less hard when they're back, because it will be like being able to sense them, hear them, feel them, dream of them again. So that's what I have for the process of divine death, which I consider as sacred as birth. It is beautiful. It is very, very beautiful. And it is an honor to be there for somebody as they go through that. It is sacred, very sacred. And it is a soul transition, a big transition into a new phase, which is really beautiful. So I would love to hear any of your questions or comments about this. I have all of the compassion and love for people that are going through this. I want you to know that your loved ones are not gone. They do not disappear with the body. They go in this other direction, through this beautiful portal to heaven, if that's the word that you like, or the in-between place, to this beautiful place of souls. And they'll be back in a couple of months watching over you. Just let them have some time to heal. It's a lot, the trauma of death itself, but also they've been through a lot in their lives, I'm sure. And they have a lot of things that they need to reconcile within, but they'll be back. So I hope that this was helpful. I mean, I hope that this was, I just felt so called to make this, and I don't know why. So I really hope that this touches somebody and brings them like relief. And, our souls are eternal. They're not gone. Not at all. Not at all. You are eternal. Maybe this will also help somebody to fear death a little bit less, or to understand their NDE or their exit points or all of those things. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I want to remind you guys to like this video, share, and subscribe for new videos on Sundays. This would be a really nice one to share. I think that this could be really, really helpful to people to see it from this really beautiful higher perspective. And I want to invite you to join in on the magic by joining the Starseed Academy membership group, because we are, I know I talk about it a lot, but we are just always doing such incredible events over there. If you're looking for community, ascended community, awakening community, starseed community, if you're looking for support, if you're looking for your next step on your spiritual path, all of the things are waiting for you in the membership. So I'll leave it at that. Before we go, I want to remind you, as always, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. I love you, beautiful souls. Have a great day. Bye.